Hi, I'm Jazz and I'm an alcoholic and I'm codependent. I work a 12-step program and I seek health. I am a seeker and a traveler in my journey. Okay, let's do a check-in. And where am I at with my recovery today? So my check-in would be, how am I feeling? I'm feeling content. I'm feeling satisfied. I'm feeling happy. I've had a lot of rest today. And I guess I feel excited and joyful. So that's my check-in. That's how I'm feeling. And where am I at with my recovery today? I will talk about a few things that I recently have worked through. You know, being in recovery, changing my behaviors down to the smallest behaviors has been, the so detailed, so deep. I am picking away at the smallest behaviors. It's like an addiction, like stopping to control something, stopping something is very difficult. And, stopping drinking is difficult, but learning how to not pick up behaviors is 10 times more difficult for me. And the thing is that it's only me to answer to or stop myself from these behaviors. My choice, my willingness, and my awareness. And, I have a hard time, like for some reason, I want to text my last partner that it's daylight savings time today. Like, don't forget, it's daylight savings time. And that's a total codependent behavior because I'm caretaking. And I feel this urge to do this and I don't do it. My recovery says to not do it and I don't do it. But these little things happen, they still happen. They happen all the time. And I check my motive. And, that person doesn't need me to do that. I don't even know why I think that person needs me to do that. And for instance, there was this other scenario. I had done the kid handoff, and they looked mopey and sad. And we had already had a disagreement in the week, and nothing was resolved. There was no apologies, and he likes to just sweep it under the rug and be like, let's just be fine now. Let's just be happy. Let's just forget about it without ever talking about anything or resolving anything. And, apologies from him nowadays feel so empty. And, there's not much words that we need to say anymore. But, here I am. This is me in my recovery today, is that he's looking sad because it's like he wants to hang out, but I don't want to hang out with someone that doesn't treat me very nicely, that isn't very apologetic, I don't want to hang out with someone like that. I'm choosing differently in my life today. And, but I felt the urge of my codependency wanted to make him feel better. I wanted to dive right in, and I was feeling uncomfortable, and I could feel myself wanting to do something, and I just kept saying to myself, like, just keep getting in the car and go home. Just keep getting in the car and go home. This is not your job. This is not my job. He's his job, and I'm my job. And I'm getting away from making everybody else my job. And this was just, a small example of how I battle codependency. And it was about a week ago, I'm late for something, and I don't like being late, and I don't like when other people are late. So it's just like a huge pet peeve of mine. And I most of the time, like with me and all my kids, I try to be, I'm almost always on time, but sometimes it's just like I'm having, one of the kids having a meltdown at the door. Someone's got a poopy diaper. Sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And so I'm late for this appointment. I'm in a stir. I'm in my car. And I should have stopped there and just said, okay, I'm late right now. I'm late. And I was so elevated that I should have also just like taken a few breaths, calmed down, and sat there maybe for a minute. Like I probably should have just sat there to calm down. And what I did is I ran with that emotion that I was like I guess I was angry. And so I rushed the kids out of the car, and then I have to cross the street. So I rush across the street, and I'm pushing my little one in the stroller, and I'm carrying my almost 2-year-old. And now I'm getting even more angry because I'm now physically draining myself and emotionally draining myself. And I rush across the street, and at the park bench is their father waiting because one's going to a hair appointment and one's going to an eye appointment. And so I'm now doing a really fast walk to him in a huff, and I'm angry. And, this is like codependency. It's just like my tank is just draining. I'm draining my tank. And because I didn't calm down, I don't have my priorities in check. I don't have my emotions in check. And I'm furious. So the tornado is just getting rip roaring. And so I get all the way to his feet where he still doesn't notice me. I scream his name, and he acts like he never saw me. And I'm now triggered by that non-reaction because that was just something that I dealt with a lot in our relationship was not feeling seen, and emotional neglect and being ignored, and then never acknowledging. I never got that acknowledgement. Not that I need that acknowledgement from him. That's not his job, but that makes it for a really tough relationship, which we had. And so, he then prances up and poses himself to me like, how's it going? Like this big, he's having the best day of his life, and he's just sunbathing, and I show up in a huff. And I mean, it feels like a pushback, like I feel so ignored in that situation. And that's part of my own journey. Like that's part of my own work, my own triggers for feeling unseen. And I'm in the middle of creating my own storm here, so anyways, and then, he takes our son and he goes to his appointment, and, big see you later, no problem. He's having the best day of his life. He hasn't noticed a single thing about my disturbance, like my emotions, nothing. And I felt so pushed away and unseen, and I always get a little hurt by that. Like I'm not immune from reactions. I'm not immune from uncomfortable feelings and being human. I am in a really human moment right now. I am just put myself through this situation of being late and crossing the street, and then to be, I felt so ignored by him not seeing any of this. And the problem is that if I would have actually walked across the street in a calmer state, if I had cooled down in the car, accepted that I was late, just to go sit in a doctor's office where there was a lineup, I would have kept my own peace. I would have kept me in check. And I think if I would have kept myself in check better, I might have been able to handle him a lot smoother and not cared that he just acts the way he acts. Like that's how he always acts. And whenever I have emotions, he will just show me a very a brighter emotion. Like he's always, it just feels like he's always almost like if I have an emotion, he's having a more inflated emotion. And I always feel ignored in that way. And anyways, I had to get on the phone and I had to talk to my sponsor and I had to figure out what the heck. And because what happens is I get right focused on what he's doing. And I can't believe that he's treated me this way, that he didn't see me. And I do think that he is playing a bit dumb and acting like he completely didn't come to my aid. You know, I had to still give him our child. He didn't come up to me. He didn't see me. He didn't try to take the load off. You know, he didn't say, "Oh, are you okay?" Like, there was no concern. Like, I was just some bag lady dropping off his kid to him, you know, and I better just get out of here with my emotions. And, you know, I have to accept that person for exactly the way they are right now, for where they are in their journey. I have to let that go. There's nothing I can do there. And all I can do is learn from my own triggers, my own reactions, you know, my own loss of self-control and my emotional dysregulation, you know. Everything just was going way too fast and hard for me to slow down, and I just crashed it all. And so, you know, this is the kind of work that I do in my life and that I learn from. And I think the next time that something like this happens again in a similar way, I'm going to have a better handle on it. And also because I've talked it out with my sponsor, you know. And so anyways, we go, it's a lot to do with taking responsibility for my life and my part, all the way down to the smallest details. And I've really needed a bit more detail after AA. And so I'm sitting in my doctor's appointment, and they get us, you know, everything's fine. They get us through quite quickly. And I don't hear from the father. And so I'm a little irritated by that as well. Like, it just seems with him, things just continue. And I have to have such strong boundaries with him. And that's the way I got to play it. Like, and so he goes, "Oh, we went home." And so I'm just like wanting to get so much more madder about that. But I thought I didn't say, "Can you wait here till we're done?" I didn't say a time or place. And knowing him for the person that he is, he's doing exactly what he's always shown me and what he always does. And so I kind of sat with that for a moment. Like, this is typical him. This is him. He would just, you know, I would have appreciated to have been in the loop a little, or, "Hey, when are you done? Like, how would we, you know," I would have appreciated a bit more back and forth. You know, whatever, that's a desire of mine. But I just quietly went and picked up our baby. And I thought to myself, like, next time I really need to say a time, you know, next time I need to lay it all out. I need to lay it all out. Like, almost every time I have to do that. Clear, vocal, repetitive, you know, to deal with this moving target, with this. I'm not going to know. There's just, anyways, I'll let that part go. But, that relationship probably teaches me the most in my life today. You know, whichever difficult relationships I have going on, they're teaching me the most. And, you know, my emotions are my responsibility, my life, my schedule, and his is his. And, you know, I've gotten really good at taking responsibility for my life, and it's really hard, and I don't like it. And I've always maybe wanted someone to come in and help me and take care of me, and I've really had to give up that dream. But I have learned how to come in and take care of me and take responsibility. And some of these happenings that happen, you know, that experience happened, it didn't hurt me for the rest of the day. Like, I went through it, and I got on the phone, and I've recovered from it. And I do think that I'm going to handle myself in a better way next time. So another thing that I struggle with my lovely mother, who I now have a good relationship with, but when she's just relaxing, doing nothing, she has a grumpy look on her face. There's a name for that. And when I come into the house, she doesn't acknowledge my presence most of the time. And she just sort of looks at me with a scowl. And I grew up with that. And there's a little bit of mental illness there. And, you know, we do have a relationship now. But what the script is that I say in my head, that I catch myself saying, and I've done work on this, is who cares that you're here? You don't matter. I'm a loser. The negative tape starts playing. And when I open that door, what I have to do is catch the script. And when I catch the script, I can rewrite the script. And that's been huge in my recovery. So sometimes I need a minute and I'll go the other way. I have to take care of myself. So I'll go the other way around to the living room through the kitchen. And I got to breathe. And 2 breaths, like, one is good, but that third one or that second one is even better. So I'll catch myself and I say, it's okay, Jazz. I'm okay. You are loved. I am lovable. I am loving and loved and loved and loving. And I'm a beautiful and precious creation. I say the things. And I, like a balloon, I lift a little. And that's my work. That's my inner head work that I do, that I've been training myself to learn. And this is a healthy way of coping with something like that. Coping with that behavior, that negative thought pattern, rewriting the script, and keeping my peace in my life in these little moments. And I go around and then I say hello. And by the time I get to her, I know that I matter now. I know that I'm cared for and I'm loved, and that what's going on with her is her stuff. You know, that's her stuff. That's her face. That's how she sits. And sometimes I gotta ask, because I just get so nerve-wracked. Like, it's a thing I still have to battle to this day. And, you know, there's probably, I might always have to battle it, you know, like, it's just something that I'm aware of, that I manage. It's a deep wound. And, you know, I picked a partner just very similar to her, that, you know, I didn't get a lot of reciprocation back and forth. I felt ignored a lot in that relationship. And, you know, I would say hi or start conversations or have conversations, and I wouldn't get conversation back. I wouldn't get acknowledgement that they could hear me. And I find that was really similar to just my relationship growing up with my mother. And she, you know, I have to work on that I am still lovable, even though certain people might not acknowledge back to me that they're listening and that they care and that they want to know what I'm talking about. And it sounds harsh, but it's just part of the stuff that I have to work on in my recovery because of the people in my life. And, that's okay. And I used to just sit in that hurt for so much longer. And how come they're not going to change? Why can't she just smile at me when I walk in? Why can't he let me know that he's listening? Doesn't he know how to do active listening? Like, all of that is trying to control the other people so that I'm okay. And I really have to just make sure I'm okay and they're being that way. And that's how I get along better in this world. Because the whole control thing is an illusion. It's a lie. There's nothing I am in control of with people, places, and things. I just have me. And I'm getting really good at figuring that out and deciding where I spend my energy and my time and, dealing with my feelings and not letting them take over my life, but still acknowledging them. All of this work, all this inner work makes it all go around. And that's just been the greatest gift that I've ever received from recovery, is just being able to manage me in this world. So yeah, that's my check-in, and that's just some daily recent stuff that's been going on with me. Thank you.